Welcome to this short MedChemica MCPairs training video. In this video, we will give a general overview of how most of the tools are used. You will see all the things the tools have in common. In particular, they all have a similar pattern on how to input your starting molecules and how outputs are found. Here I am at the login window. We have previously described how you can get an account, or you may have been invited to an account by a group administrator. So let's log in. You should then see a screen containing all the available tools. In the top right hand corner, you should be able to see the database symbol. If we hover over it, it says Users Central Database. This reminds us that this particular tool will use, as it suggests, the central database of knowledge of matched molecular pairs. All of these first 6 tools here have this symbol in place. In the case of the Toxophore and Pharmacophore tools, this is the machine learning models built off the datasets stored in the database. This symbol is not present for the tools within the chemistry toolbox. This is because these areas will be using your data that you are uploading for depiction or analysis. Just to clarify, when it is your data, we do not store it at the end once the session is finished. All your data is deleted, so none of your data is permanently stored. Okay. So by using rule design, I will quickly outline how we will get in molecules, adjust settings, view results, and I will then compare and contrast them to a few of our other tools. So here we go very quickly. There are several ways to get a molecule into our tools. If it happens to be stored on our database, it is possible to type in an identifier, like a Chemical ID, and the molecule will be auto-looked up and the structure will be displayed in the structure editor. It is also possible to paste in a smile string. Once a smile string is in place, of course, it is possible to edit a smile string, and you are free to do this. For example, I will quickly add some carbons to this chain, and that is a nice way of getting started. Of course, if you want to draw your molecule with this particular editor, you can clear the pane and, like most tools, draw away, creating bonds and rings. If you weren't aware, a quick trick for you. If you hold your cursor over an atom and key a letter, it will change to the atom. Another way of getting molecules in is with this blue arrow here. It allows you to paste a mol or SDF file, or even a smile strings this way. Over the right hand side of the screen, there is usually areas where you can select what you are trying to achieve, or Pharmacophore or Toxophore models. In this case, we will be selecting the goal direction. By default, it is increased solubility for rule design. They may or may not be a filtering tool. It won't surprise you that the results can be filtered on certain settings such as relative molecular mass, hydrogen bond acceptors, hydrogen bond donors, C-log P, or you can even use a substructure lock on your molecule. And these will all be covered in another training video. But briefly, these filters can be activated by selecting the filter of choice and its corresponding settings. The results will then be filtered accordingly. In this particular tool, as you have drawn the molecule, the properties are calculated and displayed here to enable you to set these filters appropriately. In nearly all tools, there is a green Submit button, so we'll now click the Submit button and this will start running. All tools have a history window down the bottom, displaying the runs and outputs. It won't surprise you that for most of the tools, you can get another search running, and for this example, I will set a tightened lipophilicity range, and then press Submit again. It appears in the history window and will run these searches simultaneously. You can view the output of any completed run at any stage, so you needn't worry, you can go back and look at the results without having to redo the search again. In this particular case, I have done such a tight setting that there is no results in it. The simplest way of looking at results is to look for the blue greater than symbol to the left hand side of each job row. If you click these, at a minimum, it gives some data about the run and will actually show some results for many of the tools. In this particular case, the basic line viewer shows structured depictions. Most areas have a Save or Export button, which is often in the history window. For rule design, we can see you can export an Excel spreadsheet and click Download. It will then begin to start the download. Depending on the browser, it might appear in the bottom left hand corner. For most tools, there are settings used to customise your output. All these features are covered in greater depth in separate training videos. Now we have demonstrated one of our tools' rule design, let us compare it for one of the other tools. To get back to the home menu, you can click the top left-hand corner, which is typical for most websites. From here, we will quickly go to Spot Design. In this case, you enter a reference compound first, again with either a smile structure, ID, or you can free draw it. For Spot Design, you have to select an area we wish to query. I will select Metabolism and apply these. Again, we see a draw window on the left-hand side to draw our compound ID, and in this instance, results will appear on the right. I will quickly add this hydroxyl group here. Already we can see that it has calculated the delta changes here, and we press the Submit button, and again we see a history window start to build up at the bottom. On the right hand side, the results will appear, and we will just wait a few seconds for those to arrive before we go and look at another tool. There we go. We can see a pizza wheel with the results, and we will talk about these results and how to understand and interpret them in another training video. So let's compare that input to, let's say, the Toxaphor system. Again, we start to get the idea. Compounds, inputs on the left of where we can draw them, or we can input the name of the compound or the smile string, like we have done in previous examples. Again, I'll input the same input structure as before. On the right hand side are the settings and filters and the machine learning models that we would like to apply in this instance. And if I click the Submit button, this one has a slight difference in the fact that the input screens disappear whilst it is running, as it is preparing the space for the output of your run, as it needs a lot more room to display the results. But the history window is as before, and you can see the export buttons over to the right. If you wish to submit another run to make the input molecule and machine learning model section reappear, click the white plus symbols at the top right hand corner to reorganise the screen. Okay, so here is our output for this run, and as you can see, the export button is at the right hand side of the results section too. Once clicked, there are some settings that you can enter, and that should take a few seconds to render that file and to download. And here is our PowerPoint presentation. How to interpret these results will be covered in another training video. Hopefully you are now starting to get the idea of the similarities between tools. If we then look at MCPairs, which is slightly different from the other tools, but again, in general, the input molecules on the left hand side, but this time the direct pair finding system too. In this case, you follow the numbers 1, 2, 3. These features will all be discussed further in a different training video. At the bottom of the screen, like before, we have a nice green Submit button or history box, and you will be able to export once you have completed a run. Even simpler still is if we look at our Clean, Search and Filter tool from the chemistry area. This requires just a smile files in, a couple of settings and a green Submit button. Once again with our history window at the bottom of the page, which tracks job submissions and their progress. So that is a quick whirlwind of the features of MCPairs Online. If you require further support, please contact support@medchemica.com. Thank you.